I'm Matt, and I am from the Geek Awakens, and I am actually here with another podcast, Popcorn Psychology. How are you guys doing today?
We're great.
So we'll jump right into the questions. We'll try and keep it simple, not tax anybody too much. So you guys basically take movies and use your therapy backgrounds to dissect. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So how did the idea for this podcast come about?
Okay, we'll let Ben take it.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll take that one. So we would sit around in the office talking about movies after we got done seeing our clients in private practice, and then there was one time where we sat around and talked about The Last Jedi and how, wow, that was actually a really great portrayal of trauma. Maybe the movie had some things that weren't great, but also it was an excellent portrayal of trauma and also of grooming. And then I went home, everybody went home, and as I was taking a shower before bed, I literally reached my hand out of the sliding door and grabbed my phone and texted them trying not to get my phone wet, going this should be a podcast. And they immediately just texted back, heard my sink vibrating, because of course you put the phone in there so it doesn't fall in anywhere, and just, yes! And then it was born, and Hannah showed some leadership skills and got a notebook out. We sat down at a Chipotle, and Hannah's like, so what do we want to do? How do we want to structure the show? And then we just, boom, rolled with it. And like most podcasts, our first episode got scrapped.
I mean, we've rebooted 4 times. I don't know, multiple times. So I get that. So you guys actually got the privilege to be panelists this year at C2E2.
Yes.
And you just got done with your panel not that long ago. Give everybody a little bit of rundown that wasn't able to be here, what you guys talked about in the panel.
Sure. So we got the opportunity, which we haven't been able to at other panels we've done, which is kind of give a general sort of overview of what we do and be able to really introduce ourselves to new listeners. So what was cool is most people in the audience, it was full, but most of them had never heard of us before. So basically we were able to touch upon sort of our big 3, which is Star Wars, DC, and Marvel in terms of big hitters. So we were able to talk about Luke Skywalker from The Last Jedi and how we thought he was such a good portrayal of trauma and how it kind of inspired us to start this podcast, period. We also talk about our boy Bruce Wayne and how he also is ooh, is the Batman really a good, healthy idea? Or is this a little kid who's grown up and is still stuck where he was when his parents died? So it was very exciting to do it because, like you said, it's our first year cracking C2E2. We've applied before but weren't able to really get in. But it was nice to be able to just have a brief overview of this is how movies can be taken more seriously, and they can actually be used in a clinical way to not just get our clients more invested, but also to just be inspiring. Why do we attracted to this character? What can they tell us about ourselves? And also that for some reason, people can have more empathy for a fictional character if they feel attached to. And so then it's well, if you can find empathy for Bucky Barnes, why can't you find empathy for yourself or for your brother who's gone through similar situations?
So you said Star Wars, DC, Marvel.
Yeah.
I know from following you guys on social media that you've done other movies, you've done rom-coms, things like that. Do you have a favorite genre to analyze?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I feel like one of the genres that we really like to talk about is horror.
Okay.
Horror does a really good job of talking about, has some of the most accurate portrayals of mental health that we've seen. And so, yeah, I feel like that's what I feel like. I feel like when we talk about horror, I feel like that's the genre that I really enjoy discussing because it usually has so many different elements to it.
Okay.
Horror is one of the few genres that I think, because of maybe it's B-movie status in a lot of ways, is given more liberty to play around and to talk about things through. And so horror has surprisingly deep themes to it. I think more often than not, to be honest. Also, I think tentatively, when we talk about a rom-com, that's usually fun because they're usually very messy. And I don't think we realize when you actually really take a closer look at a rom-com, it's hard. So we did Sleepless in Seattle. I don't think I can ever watch it again because she never meets him and she just fully like stalks him. And then he's like, "You're cute because you're Meg Ryan," and that's like literally it.
Like after
When
you,
actually,
after you
like,
really
look at
think
movies
about
closer,
it.
you're like, "Oh no!" So, yeah.
Well, you guys put out episodes regularly. Do you have anything that you can tease as far as movies that you're going to be talking about soon?
So the next episode coming out is going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Our cameraman really enjoys that idea.
I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes people are wrong. But yeah, that's coming out next. After that will be Terminator 2, which is one of Brittney's favorites. We'll also be doing Mask of the Phantasm and Inception, and I can't even remember the whole list. But up.
Okay.
We got some heavy hitters coming. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Full list. Full list.
We're going to do a Seinfeld episode this year for our holiday,
Okay.
one of our holiday movies.
We're gonna be able to talk about the Costanzas.
And Festivus.
Oh. There, be extra long episode. That's fine. That's fine. That's the way it goes.
Yes.
And then one last thing. Tell our listeners where they can find you and follow you guys on social media and obviously the podcast.
Sure. So you can find us at any major like podcast place that you would get it from: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're found pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Popcorn Psychology. You can also find us on Twitter at popcorn_psych. And you can always email us at popcornpsychology@gmail.com. If you want to have if you have in-depth questions for us or want a movie for us to talk about, that's usually the best way to get to us to really stick.
Okay.
Other things can kind of get lost in the sauce, but that's the best way to get to us. So yeah, you can find us pretty much everywhere.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. Glad you guys cracked the ceiling and were able to get a panel this year.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of your con.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.